Hello. Hi. There we go. I don't get to use the pink sparkly microphone. Oh, darn. So I know some of you are wondering if I am eternally pregnant, considering I spent most of last year pregnant and am now pregnant again. It's baffling to myself even. In September, I had a little boy named Wyatt, and thank you. He just turned 9 months old, and he is humongous. I mean, giant. I have giant babies, apparently. And he's probably the size of most people's 1-year-old. And he's the cutest, chubbiest little cowboy you'd ever see in your life. Completely adorable. And this baby, number 2, is arriving in December. And I know I'm just going to say now, because I get asked these questions a lot, but I do not know if I'm having a boy or girl, and I'm a total hippie. I don't do ultrasounds, so I like the surprise. So I don't ever find out. And so all through my pregnancy last time, and already I've been asked, do you know what you're having? And I say, nope, have no clue. The surprise is amazing. So I am wanting to share something really, really raw for me right now. I want to talk about embracing the season that you're in. And let me just talk to you about why this is so raw for me right now. This has been such an exciting season and such a hard season. Being a mom is like, whoa. I mean, all you moms out there, I probably call my mom all the time and say, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking, why I put you through that, but please forgive me. Being a mom, it's the most rewarding and the most wonderful thing and the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And on top of everything else that we're doing, you know, Wyatt, by 8 months old, he has been in 9 countries and 15 different states. That is a lot for a little baby. We just tote him all around the world with us, and we walk into a hotel room and he just lights up like it's just his second home. And he doesn't sleep pretty much ever. And I'm completely exhausted all the time. And a million moms everywhere have given me advice about what to do, and I am desperate. I'm like, I will try anything. One lady even told me, try just putting him upside down for a couple minutes and then put him right side up, because it just sets his clock right. And I was like, okay, all right. So I pick up Wyatt and woo, and back, and I'm like, you want to sleep now? No, didn't work. The kid does not sleep at all, and I can't really blame him, you know. He's getting toted all over the world, and I'm like, well, he's probably confused about time zones and whatnot, and I can't really blame the kid. I mean, poor guy. And I just said yesterday to someone, I said, you know, the last 2 weeks he's been waking up every single hour in the night. And I said, so it can't get worse. Well, guess what? It did. I had no idea it could, but it did. That kid woke up last night at, well, this morning I'll say 6:30, but on California time, that's 4:30. And he was wide awake till 9 a.m. just talking, and he'd crawl over and he'd kiss me, and then he'd laugh, and he'd talk, and I couldn't get mad about it. I couldn't get mad that my baby is waking me up and I'm just completely exhausted because he's just so darn cute. It's just, what can I say? You know? Yeah. But I would love for him to sleep, and I don't know how to make that happen. Maybe one day. So embracing the season we're in. As you can tell, I'm in a very tired season. God has a plan for our lives. God sees the beginning and the end and the middle. He sees everything in between. And God knows what's ahead. He knows what you're about to walk into. He knows every situation and the trials, the good things, the hard things. He knows every single part of your life. And the amazing and wonderful thing about God and the fact that He is a good and a loving Father is that He wants you to be successful. You have these dreams in your heart and these visions and these things that you want to do with your life, these goals that you're aiming your life towards. And God doesn't put these dreams and these desires in your heart just to dangle them in front of you and say, hope you get there. Good luck, buddy. Life is hard. God puts those things inside of you, and He wants you to achieve those things in your heart, but He doesn't want you to just land there. He wants you to be successful when you get there. He wants you to do it well. And at the end of your life, you can say that you did it well. You walked the road that you were called to walk, and you did it well. This requires a ton of trust and a life that is completely surrendered. And I'm not talking about coming to a conference or church on Sunday and just making that one time, I surrender my life to you, God. I am learning and finding out that walking with Jesus, and I mean a daily relationship with Him, looks like daily surrender. My son teaches me this as I daily surrender to no sleep. Daily surrender. I'm going to read Isaiah 55, verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. As the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return to it without watering the earth, and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but it will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. What this says right here is that, first of all, it says to me two things. Number one is what we see is not always matching what God sees. God sees further, He sees beyond, He sees the things that we can't always see. But secondly, this says that God promises that the promises that He has put inside your heart, that when He speaks that word, it will not return empty, but that word will be accomplished in your life. How is that accomplished? Through total daily surrender to Jesus, to allowing Him to transform you and to work in your life what needs to be done, what needs to happen to get there. Because this is what it is. There's just these circumstances, these trials, these things that we go through, these maybe hard seasons, these learning seasons, these curveballs that come our way. And God, I really, really, really believe that God is such a gracious and loving God that He brings us opportunity to grow and to learn. And it's only for our benefit, so that when we get to whatever destination we're going towards, we'll be successful and we can do it well. I can tell you that in my own life, I look back on the different things that I've walked through in my life and the challenges that I faced, the times when I chose to press into the presence of God, when I couldn't see, when I didn't know, when I was scared, when I was confused, when I felt lost, when I had all these whirlwind of emotions, whatever it is that I might have been feeling. Maybe I felt abandoned by God. Maybe I felt frustrated. Maybe I felt that frustration of, oh, I see where I want to be and I can't get there and it's driving me crazy. I'm stuck here at point B and I really want to be like way down there at point Y. I think really big, really long term. And I get frustrated that I'm not there. Why can't I get there? And learning to just embrace the season that I'm in and understanding that there is something that God wants to do inside of me right now. There's something that God wants to plant inside of me to prepare me, to give me the tools necessary so that when I get there, I can do it well. A great example of this is when we went to Chicago and we did our Chicago Arena gathering. Now, way back when Jesus Culture started, oh, some of you were there maybe? Yeah. When Jesus Culture started, like way, way back, we were like, you know, in our youth group of not a ton of people, and we're praying, and we have vision, and we're believing that one day we're gonna go to an arena and we're gonna see thousands of people worshiping Jesus. But right now in our youth group, we're trying to get 10 kids to worship Jesus. You know what I mean? There was always that one group that they just wanted to run around and chew gum and, you know, be silly. I don't know where the chewing gum came from, except that's what I remember about youth group is all the kids chewing gum. I don't know. So here we are, and we've got this huge vision, and all these years later, here we are in Chicago, and I'm standing backstage, and it's the first night session, and Banning's up on the stage, and he's he's like saying hello and greeting everyone and praying, and the band is about to come up and to do worship, and it's 15,000 people, and all of us can just feel the excitement of this is a dream come true right now. Years and years and years ago, we're praying into this and investing into this and believing for this moment, even when it didn't look like it was gonna happen, but believing that this is where God had us and just patiently waiting on the Lord to lead us down the road to that point, that destination. And I knew that I could very easily walk up on that stage and just sing, let's call it the greatest hits, like How He Loves, Rooftops, Your Love Never Fails, I don't know, just the greatest hits. And I knew I could just walk up there and I could just sing the songs and everyone would be so excited because there was just so much excitement in the room at just being there. And it would be so easy. And then I could just walk off the stage and it'd be like, oh, that was simple. But something inside of me always makes a choice to not go down that easy road, but to step aside and say, God, this cannot just be another night. I can't walk through the motions. I can't be fake. I can't be phony. I want to know what is it that you want to accomplish tonight. And I want to partner with you to bring your kingdom, to bring heaven, so that people encounter you and their lives are changed. And let me tell you, this is not always the easier way. This is typically the harder way because it requires me to, first of all, push aside the pressure that I can't really describe it except that I can literally feel, I'm just getting real vulnerable right now, okay? I can literally feel a weight of people's expectation on me. I can literally feel this almost like a peer pressure to like want to just like give in to just please man, to just sing the songs that makes everybody happy instead of waiting and pressing into God and figuring out what it is that He wants to do. It means that I have to know how to push aside all distraction. It means that the enemy is going to paint a big old target and try to come and bring distraction and speak different things, and I have to know how to be up on the stage and lead the thousands of people into worship, but also how to push out any distraction of the enemy and to hear from the Lord. Do you see what I'm saying? This is a fight, but it is a fight that is so worth it. And I can tell you that I would not ever have learned how to do that if I hadn't gone through all the years before that of learning what I've learned and what I've grown in my relationship with the Lord. in understanding and knowing it's so worth it every time. Is this making sense? I don't think that if I hadn't learned those things and gone through those things, I don't think that I would have been successful when I got there. It could have looked successful to everyone else because, like I said, I could have gone up and sang songs and just gone through the motions, and everyone would have been like, yay, and maybe never would have known. But I would know, my team would know, because it's so worth it to allow God to do in me what he wants to do and to teach me and train me and mold me so that when I arrive, I'm ready. In one of my testimonies, I think it's floating around on YouTube, but I talk about this season I went through with the Lord when I was in the school of ministry. And it was a rough season because God was rewiring me on the inside. And he was teaching me about who I am according to who he says I am. Not what anyone else says, but just simply being his daughter. And it was a healing process for me, and it was a painful process. And it was so good, but I got to the point where I desired nothing but Jesus. And every day after school, after BSSM, I would either go to our prayer house or I'd go home, and I'd just go to my room and just start worshiping and pressing into Jesus. And I spent hours and hours and hours just alone in my bedroom, just pressing into God, just so hungry to know him as much and as deeply as I could. And I didn't care if I ever became a worship leader, a missionary, a doctor, a lawyer, anything. All I cared about, that whatever I was doing in my life, was that I had him. And I had my eyes so set on him. And I know that the fruit that I walk in today is because of that time. And I understand and I know that the circumstances and the season that I'm in right now is going to determine the fruit in my future. I understand and I know that every decision I make right now in my life, the way that I handle the big waves that come my way, the way that I handle the curveballs, the way that I handle the hard situations, those decisions are what determines the fruit I'm going to be living in my future. You guys know the story of Peter in Matthew 14:25. He's in the boat with his other friends. I'm just going to tell the story in the Kim version. And this storm comes, and they're all freaked out. And all of a sudden, they look out on the water, and they see a man, and they're like, oh, it's a ghost. And Jesus is like, no, sillies, it's me. And Peter, who must have been out of his mind, crazy in love with Jesus. Now, let me tell you why I think this. Because when you are in love, you are seriously out of your mind. When I first fell in love with my husband, okay, those initial feelings of, I couldn't talk about anything else. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I could have walked out and got hit by a car and my arm fell off and I'd go, I love Skylar. Yeah. Those gooey feelings. So in love, out of your mind, crazy, okay? Peter had to have been that because people in love, they don't always think rationally. Because Peter says, whoa, Jesus, if that is you, call out to me one more time so I know and I am running out there to be with you. Are you kidding me? Peter couldn't just wait a few minutes for Jesus to get to the boat. It's not enough for him. He wants to be where Jesus is. He wants to be right out there where he is. He doesn't consider that the man is walking on water in the middle of a storm. Hello. In love, out of your mind. Completely. So Peter calls to him, and Jesus is like, yeah, Peter, it's me. And Peter climbs out of the boat and runs out on the water to be with Jesus. But all of a sudden, as he gets out there, he takes his eyes off of Jesus for a moment, and he looks and he sees these giant winds and these giant waves, and suddenly reality smacks him in the face, and he realizes what he's just done, and he starts to sink. And he calls out to Jesus like, help me. And Jesus comes over and picks him up out of the water and is like, you of little faith, why did you doubt, goofball? Peter was so in love with Jesus and so wanted to be with him, he set his eyes on Jesus. And that's what gave him the faith that he needed to walk out on the water. But the moment he took his eyes off of Jesus and he looked around at the circumstances around him, that's the moment he began to sink. But because of what he heard, because he heard the voice of the one he loves calling out to him, he went, he ran. But then when he looked around and he saw, this is such an important lesson for all of us, that the moment we get in those difficult situations, those hard seasons, the moment we take our eyes off of Jesus, that's the moment we begin to sink. That's the moment when the storm begins to overtake us and overwhelm us. But if we just fix our eyes on him, if we set our eyes on Jesus, and we just keep walking and we keep pressing in, Jesus is right there with us to help us every step along the way. You know that Hillsong song, Oceans? It's a beautiful song. I have no idea if it was written about that section of scripture, but when I hear it, that's what I think of, is the story of Peter. I'm going to just read the lyrics for a minute here. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let's just stop right there. First of all, when we sing this song, I wonder, do people know what they just said? Hello. You just said, Jesus, lead me where there is no boundaries to my trust in you. Whoa, that's a big statement. Huge. Listen, your words are powerful, people. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. As I'm walking after you, Jesus, my faith grows stronger. As I set my eyes on you, as I climb those mountains, as I push through the storms, my faith is growing stronger. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. That means when you feel like you're in the darkest season or the hardest season, God's grace is there even more. I can testify to that over and over and over in my life. The seasons that were the hardest seasons of my life, that is when God had so much more grace for me. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. Isn't it amazing that we serve a God that has never failed? Not one time. He has never failed. And he has gone before us and he has prepared a way for us. Isn't that amazing? That right there should just give you faith to know that I will get there. I will conquer this mountain. I will get through this storm. I will beat this thing. My baby will sleep through the night. I will get there. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. This part is what means the most to me. This is what I hold on to personally when I'm in the tough seasons, knowing that I belong to Jesus. I'm his. A long time ago, I gave my life to him. I surrender my life every day to him. And I know that no matter what comes my way, no matter what season, no matter how hard it is, no matter how easy it is, I know that I know that I know that I belong to him. And he's not about to just abandon me to figure it out on my own. He's not about to abandon me to just fail. That he is there with me. He's like, you're mine. You belong to me. I know that with my son, I want him to succeed. He's mine. That little boy, that chubby, cute little boy, he belongs to me. And I understand and I know that I'm gonna do my best to love him and to help him. I know that he's gonna make his own decisions. I know that he's gonna make his own choices. I know that I can't control him. I can't control his life, but I'm gonna do everything I can to pour every part of me into him. And because he belongs to me, because I so love him, I want him to be successful. I want him to do well in life. I want him to be happy. The Father, his love is that kind of love is so amazing, but the Father's love is so much greater and so much bigger than that. It's a love that I feel like I'm spending my life trying to understand. And I'm okay with that. Even if all I have is a small taste of the Father's love, I don't mind spending my entire life trying to seek it out and learn more about it, because it's so deep and it's so big. And I'm so amazed that it doesn't even matter how many times I mess up. It doesn't even matter how many times I make the wrong choice. Or one of my issues is sometimes I speak before I think. It doesn't matter how many times I might say something I should not have said, or how many messes I might make, that he still loves me. He still embraces me. He still comes and he's like, Kim, I don't care about the mess. I'm gonna help you work through it. I'm gonna help you clean it up. But listen, you're gonna get there and you're gonna be successful. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. You can't ever sing the song the same now that I pointed it out, huh? That message right there, it's just saying, Jesus, listen, I will put all my trust in you, and there will be no limit, no boundary, no border to all my trust in you. That means I am all in 100%. I trust you with my life completely. I trust your will. I trust your goodness. I trust your grace. That means that we are in total surrender to him. That means that when you go through those difficult circumstances or whatever this season may look like, that you're saying, God, I completely trust you with my life and trust what you want to do in my life. I just recently, the last year, there was some really challenging things that I was dealing with, and I was walking through some healing, and Jesus came and I saw him standing in front of me, and he said, Kim, give me more. And I gotta be honest, I was so offended. I was so offended. I couldn't believe that Jesus had the audacity. I know. Listen, I'm all attitude sometimes. To dare to ask me to give him more. And I threw my hands up and I was so angry and I was like, are you kidding me? Look what I walked through my entire life. The challenges of my childhood, the things that I went through as an innocent child that I should not have had to deal with, the challenges I walked through as an adult, going through lots of inner healing, trying to get free of the childhood and the past and everything else. All the times I have surrendered, every single time that I have laid down my life for you over and over and over. What have I not given to you? What have I not surrendered to you? And yet here you are, daring to ask me to give you more? And I was so offended. And all of a sudden, because Jesus is completely, overwhelmingly attractive to me, because my heart cannot resist Jesus, I crumbled into a heap on the floor and was bawling my eyes out, and I understood in that moment what he wanted. He was asking me to reach down deeper inside of me and to bring him something more. He was saying, Kim, every time you think you've given it all and surrendered it all, there is still something deeper, something more inside of you to bring and to give to Jesus. Because the reality is, Jesus is worthy of every single thing that I have inside of me. Jesus is worthy of all of my praise and all of my worship. And just when I feel like, listen, I have not slept in what feels like decades. I am exhausted. I have nothing left to give. I feel completely empty, completely broken. I just want to go to bed for like 2 years. I have nothing left to give. But yet I still will reach down inside of me, and I just reach so deep, and I find something in the depths of me to bring and to give to Jesus. My sacrifice of praise, my offering, my worship, because this is what I've learned in every situation, in every trial, every circumstance. I have learned that I worship my way through those moments. I worship my way through those circumstances. I bring my sacrifice of praise. There is something deeper inside of you to bring to Jesus and to give to Jesus. I'm not talking about just external, just a here I am, I surrender. I'm talking about reaching in the depths and finding something more to bring to him, because he is worthy. He's deserving of that. It's my favorite verse of all time, Hosea 2:14. I'm going to read it in just a second, but this section of scripture I'm about to read, it's talking about the desert. And so often when people talk about, oh, I'm in a desert season, I can't hear Jesus, I can't see him, I think he left me. Wah, wah, wah. Hey, I've been there a million times. But this is what I've discovered. The desert season is actually God's grace in your life. When I was just talking about his grace abounds in deepest waters. The desert season is not you fell into a hole somewhere and God kept walking and didn't notice that you fell in. The desert season is God's grace on your life. It is an invitation from him to come into a deeper intimacy. The desert season is him saying, listen, I care so much about you, and I'm looking down the road and I see where you're headed, and I understand that when you get there, you're gonna need something. And you're gonna need it in order to do it well down there. So right now, my grace for you is that I'm gonna lead you. Jesus actually leads us into the desert season so that our intimacy with him can grow. Maybe he's saying, listen, the way that we communicated before is not how I wanna communicate now. The way that I was speaking to you before is not how I want to speak to you now. What you've learned before is not what I want you to learn right now. It's a real relationship, people. Think about the other relationships in your life. I know that my relationship with my husband, if it stayed the same way it was in our first year of marriage, now in our 5th year of marriage, there would be something wrong. There would be something really wrong. If the way that we communicated and related to each other just stayed exactly the same all the time and it never grew, there would be a real issue, a real problem. If you think about your real relationships that you have around you, why would our relationship with Jesus be any different? It's a real relationship. He wants it to grow. I'm going to read this. Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and will make the valley of Achor, which means trouble, the valley of trouble, a door of hope. There she will sing as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In that day, declares the Lord, you will no longer call me my master. I will remove the names of the Baals from her lips. No longer will their names be invoked. In that day, I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field and the birds in the air and the creatures that move along the ground. Bow and sword and battle I will abolish from the land so that all may lie down in safety. I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. I will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will acknowledge the Lord. I love this because this right here just makes it so clear that every time you feel yourself go into that season, it's not to wallow and to get upset, but it is an invitation to go deeper with the Lord. Every time I feel myself coming into a desert or wilderness type season, I get really excited because I know what's coming afterwards, because it's usually a promotion. And let me tell you, for someone who is a pretty, career-driven, goal-oriented, reward-oriented type person, okay, just being honest, I get really excited about that. Jesus, thank you. Thank you for this season that really sucks right now, because I know that on the other side of this is a promotion waiting for me and deeper intimacy with you. Yes. It's not easy to embrace the process you're in, whatever that process looks like, but this is what is required of us to be successful. I have a funny story that for years I never shared this story publicly because I thought people would think it was weird and wouldn't understand, but then I decided that I didn't care what they thought, so I decided to start sharing it publicly. But years and years ago, this is even before I was really leading worship much at all, there was this competition in Northern California with Fox Television, and it was connected to American Idol. And American Idol at that time, I think it was maybe in its 2nd season or something. And my friends decided, without telling me, to sign me up for this singing competition that Fox was putting on. And the winner of this competition got a guaranteed audition for American Idol, for the producers of the show. And my friends are like, hey, Kim, you want to go to Chico and go shopping for the day and hang out? And I'm like, yeah, shopping? Of course. And so we load in the car and we drive to Chico, this other town where the competition was being held. And instead of going to the mall, my friends drive to Fox television station where there is a line of people for days outside. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What is this? And my friends are like, surprise, we entered you in a singing competition. And I was like, what? And I'm like, I am not doing that. I was terrified. I didn't want to go sing in front of people, especially people I didn't know. I mean, that was terrifying. And I certainly didn't want to compete at that. I mean, I'm competitive, but I didn't want to compete doing that. I mean, that was scary. I mean, give me a game of Yahtzee or something and I'll be really excited, but competing, singing, no, no thank you. And my friends finally talked me into it. And I go in there like shaking like this, and I sing a song. I don't even know what I sang. I sang something. And long story short, I ended up winning the competition. So now, here I am. I've got this guaranteed audition for the producers of the show. And they're going to fly me and a friend out to Atlanta. Why Atlanta? I don't know. And I was going to audition. And all of a sudden, people all over the church, everywhere, somehow, everyone found out about this. And I was so embarrassed. And everyone's coming to me and they're like, Kim, the Lord said that you are going to win American Idol and you're going to take over the music industry for Jesus. Hallelujah. And I'm like, okay. And suddenly I'm carrying the weight of the world on me as everyone's telling me these prophetic words that I'm going to somehow win American Idol and I'm going to somehow change the entire music industry and everybody in the world is going to get saved. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of pressure on a girl who's terrified to be on a stage. And I remember I was afraid to tell people, like, I don't want to do that. I'm really scared. I was afraid to tell people. I was afraid of disappointing them. And on the inside, I'm like, Jesus, help me. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't think I want to do this. And as I'm flying in the airplane with my friend to Atlanta, and I'm so nervous, and I'm pouring sweat from my hands, and I'm praying the whole way there, and I'm like, Jesus, I don't know what to do. And I felt Jesus say to me, if you want this, I'll give it to you. And I'm like, is this a test? Did I hear that right? And clear as day, I heard it again. If you want this, I'll give it to you. Now suddenly I'm like, okay, well this is a different kind of pressure. I need to figure out if I want this. What's really in my heart? What do I want? And I get there, and the way that they had it set up was there was a group of people like myself who'd won some other competition, and we were allowed this audition, and they had us lined up 1, 2, 3, and it was maybe about 20 or so rows back. And I was towards the end of the line. I was number 2, standing in the middle, my favorite number. And they would call people up. The producers are sitting in front. There's a lady in the middle who is kind of like the main producer lady, I don't know. And this is how it went. They'd go 1, sing, thank you. 2, sing, thank you. 3, sing, thank you. No, no, yes. Next, that fast. They did not speak a word to anybody. There was no conversation happening. There was not, I'm gonna be singing, blah, 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 blah for you. I mean, nothing like that. It was so quick. And I'm standing back there and I'm, slowly moving up, and I'm going, I don't know, do I want this? I don't know, do I want this? And I could not decide, and I'm like, Jesus, I don't know what to do. And I still had not even decided what I was singing. And all of a sudden, and this is a part that I know sounds crazy, but this is just how it was. This is just what happened. Jesus says, if you sing this song, it'll put you through. And if you sing this song, you won't go through. What would you want? What do you want? And it wasn't like one was a bad song. They're both great songs, but it's just that one goes through and that one doesn't. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know what to pick. I don't know what to decide. And all of a sudden, my group's up, and I'm standing there, and it's like 1, sing. And the moment she says 2, sing, I made a split decision, and I chose the song that wouldn't put me through. I sing the song, she goes to the next one, and then she says 1, no, 3, she skips me. 3, yes, and then she looks back at me and she goes, I just can't take you. And she has this confused look on her face. Like, I don't know why I'm saying this. And she's going like that at me. And I go, I know. And I walked off. And I remember calling Banning before I was flying home. And I was like, Banning, I'm not coming home. I can't face the people. They'll be so disappointed. Listen, I chose the song that wouldn't put me through. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's a long story, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna save the music industry, and I can't do it. And Banning's like, Kim, everybody loves you. Everyone's gonna be supportive. It's okay, just come home, it's all right. And I'm like, I don't wanna come home. But the airplane took me there instead. And I get home, and there were so many awkward moments. People come running up to me like, so? And they're totally thinking that I'm gonna be like, yes, I'm in, I'm going. And I'd be like, nope. And they'd be like, oh. Like, super awkward, okay? The awkwardness lasted for months. I was like, can't the word spread a little bit quicker? Come on, people. Let everyone know, shout it from the rooftops. Kim's not going to American Idol. But you know what? I look back on my life, this is years ago, and I look back at all that time since then, and I gotta be honest and tell you, if I had done it, if I had gone through, whether or not I would have won American Idol, that doesn't matter. But I know it would have set me on a course that I was not ready for. I know that would have set me on a course that would have taken me out. And honestly, I don't even know if I would still be a Christian. I'm just being honest. Where I was in my life at that time, I still needed a lot of healing. I still needed a lot of Jesus. I was still a very wounded and scared little girl. There was so much healing and freedom and growth that Jesus did in my life through all of those years up to now. And I can honestly say and look back on that and know that I made the right choice for what God wanted to accomplish in my life and to do in my life. But that's His grace and His goodness, and that's what I'm talking about. That God, He's looking beyond, and He sees these circumstances and these choices and these decisions that come our way. And sometimes it's not easy to choose something. Sometimes it's the harder decision that you're required to make, but it's the one that will prepare you for where He has you to be. Because Jesus wants you to do it well. He wants you to succeed at whatever dream is in your heart. He wants us to be able to handle it when we get there. There's a reality of what I'm doing now in my life. There's a certain, like I talked about earlier, there's a certain weight that I feel sometimes. The weight of the anointing, the weight of what God has required of me, what I'm doing in my life and where I'm at, that if I had not walked through the different things I've walked through, I would crumble underneath that. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I wouldn't be able to withstand that weight. Is this making sense? It's kind of a hard thing to communicate, except I just want you to understand that it's so important that we embrace the process and embrace the season that we're in, so that when we get there, we don't crumble and we don't fall apart under whatever it is that God has for us. We have to fully trust God with provision, trust God with our reputation. That's a hard one. Trust God for justice when you feel like there's been an injustice. Trust God that He is good and He will fulfill the promises that He has spoken in your life. And when it gets really hard, and when you're feeling like, God, I can't see you, I can't hear you, I don't even know if you're there, this is such a hard season, I just feel just kind of lifeless. And I'm trying real hard here, but I just feel alone. Listen, those are the moments when it's so important to press into Him, to reach down deeper and to pull something out to bring to Him. I can tell you over and over that I've witnessed this in my own life, that in those moments I would say to myself, Kim, One day you will live in the fruit of this moment. So it matters. It matters what you do, and it matters what you choose. It matters whether or not you choose to worship. It matters whether or not you choose him. It matters whether or not you decide to trust him and to keep running after him and keep pursuing him, even when you don't feel anything, because there will come a day when you'll be walking in the fruit of that moment, because those moments don't go unseen by him. He sees every moment, every single moment, even when you can't feel and you can't see, but you press in anyways, and you give him all of yourself anyways. Those moments aren't unnoticed by him. And all you're doing is you're storing something amazing up in heaven with him, that at one moment, one day, he's gonna open up and pour it all out back on you. Every decision matters. Every choice matters. It matters what you're doing in your life right now. Every single choice will determine the fruit that you're living in the future. Every choice. Why don't you guys stand up? I'm going to pray, and then Sherry will come out and close us here. Jesus, I thank you so much for your grace and your kindness, that you would lead us into opportunities to grow, that you would lead us into opportunities to know you more and to love you more, that you would lead us into opportunities to stretch our faith and our endurance, God. God, I ask for every single person in this room, Lord, that they would just be overwhelmed by your love, that they would be filled with courage and hope right now, God. Lord, that no matter the season, the trial, the circumstance, whether it's good or bad, whatever it is, God, that they would so run after you. Jesus, that there would be no borders, there'd be no limit to our trust in you, God. God, I ask for courage in this room for every person to truly 100% surrender to you daily, every day, to lay down our lives for you, Jesus, and to give you all, to hold nothing back from you. God, that we would have the courage to reach down deeper inside of ourselves, to bring an offering to you, to bring our sacrifice of praise to you, to give you everything that you are so worthy and so deserving of, Jesus. And God, I ask that every person in this room would just be overwhelmed by your kindness, by what a good Father you are, such a loving Father. Jesus, that you would just show us how you're there with us every step along the way, guiding us and leading us. Lord, that we would rest in the knowledge that we belong to you. You're not going to let us fail. You're not going to let us mess up. You're going to be right there along the way, and you're going to see every word that you've spoken, every promise accomplished in our lives, God. And I thank you. I thank you for your promises. I thank you for your goodness, Jesus. In your name, amen.